Jan from Kent lost 28 kilograms, 4 stone, equivalent to more than a fifth of her body weight. The drug changed my life and completely altered my approach to food, she said. She said dieting had made her miserable, but taking the drug was completely different as she was less hungry. What's up guys, Derek, moreplates.com. Today we're going to be talking about the appetite drug could mark new era in tackling conditions. So this is an article a ton of you guys have been sending me over the past week, and it's about a drug that is actually fairly well known in the diabetes community, but is relatively unknown in the fitness community, obesity community. I don't know like what you'd want to call it, but people who are more focused on weight loss for not simply for improving like one facet of health, you know what I mean? So like for diabetes, for example, they're aware of metformin for its clinical efficacy. They're aware of this drug that I'm about to refer to for its clinical efficacy in treating diabetes. But a lot of people in the, just like normal obese people are not really aware of this and the kind of crossover it may have. And, coincidentally, well, not coincidentally, expectedly, a lot of bodybuilders and fitness enthusiasts are starting to really, take notice of this drug too, because the average weight loss in the patients was 33 pounds, which is a fuck ton. And everyone is always looking for the next best thing for losing fat. So we're gonna get into this and what I think about it, because one of the hottest topics right now, I think, in the just overall weight loss niche. So anyway, this is the article most people are referring to when they're talking about this stuff. It's obesity, appetite drug could mark new era in tackling condition. Jan after a flight at Duxford Aerodrome in September 2019, which says would have been impossible before her 4 stone weight loss. A drug that suppresses appetite has led to some people losing more than a fifth of their body weight in major international trials shows. A weekly injection of the drug Semaglutide was given alongside advice on diet and fitness. The study conducted on almost 2,000 people showed an average 15 kilogram weight loss during the 15-month trial. So an average of 33 pounds of weight loss. Like that is a shit ton, obviously. Scientists said the results could mark a new era in treating obesity with even more therapies on the horizon. So obviously, as we know, the greatest limiting factor when it comes to losing weight is adherence to a diet that works. It's not just doing a diet and following it for, here and there, and then falling off the wagon and then trying again and fucking up. It's about adhering to something that is sustainable long-term. And that is the biggest issue everyone has, is sticking to their calorie deficit and getting to their weight loss goal and then sustaining it thereafter with a sustainable diet model. So something that suppresses appetite expectedly is going to be very, very conducive to actually adhering to that. And this is why, stimulants are abused so heavily in certain drugs that wreck your appetite. People with their Adderall and shit, like some people that don't even really need it will abuse the shit out of it just to keep their appetite crushed into the ground in order to, stay shredded. So is this going to be, like that? Or like, what's the mechanism of action? I'll get into it in a sec. So Jan from Kent lost 28 kilograms, 4 stone, equivalent to more than a fifth of her body weight. The drug changed my life and completely altered my approach to food, she said. She said dieting had made her miserable, but taking the drug was completely different as she was less hungry. Effortless. However, now Jan has come off the trial. Her appetite has returned and she is putting weight back on. She said, it felt effortless losing weight while on the trial, but now it has gone back to feeling like a constant battle with food. So, obviously your willpower, when it's, when you have your ghrelin and leptin levels and your entire kind of like feedback system uninhibited, it can become pretty easy to, binge, fuck up on your diet, not adhere to the model you've laid out for yourself if it wasn't a sustainable one. And even for some people, if you have what may be a sustainable diet for one person isn't for another. And for her, she needed that, boost in appetite suppression to be able to keep the weight off, evidently. It felt effortless losing weight while on the trial, but now it's gone back to feeling like a constant battle with food. Semaglutide will already be familiar to some people who use it as a treatment for type 2 diabetes, but this trial looked at giving it at higher doses. The drug works by hijacking the body's appetite levels and mimicking a hormone called GLP-1 that is released after eating a filling meal. The trial gave some people the drug and others a dummy injection, while both groups were given lifestyle advice. The results, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, showed people lost an average of 15 kilograms on semaglutide compared with 2.6 kilograms without. So keep in mind, this is with diet and fitness advice. So the placebo group only lost 2.6 kilograms. So like obviously, you know, there's a pretty substantial difference in, and if you've ever taken like appetite suppressants and things that, you know, modulate your ability to adhere to a steep deficit, you'll know how much more effortless, just like she said, it can be to not eat when you have, you know, heavy duty stimulants, when you have melanotan, when you have certain shit, Meridia, like certain shit in your system that suppresses your appetite. I'm not saying you should do any of those. I'm just saying, like, when I've done that stuff, there's a blatant difference in, I'm either like, if I'm in a steep deficit, it can get to the point where I'm like, I finish a meal and I'm just like not satisfied, versus, you know, with certain pharmacology in the equation, you get your meal done and like, that's it. You don't even think about food until it's time to eat again, which is the ideal scenario. But unfortunately, when you are in a deficit, it doesn't always work that way, unfortunately. So I just mentioned the trial, the dummy injection, 2.6 kilograms without. However, 32% of people lost a fifth of their body weight with the drug, compared with fewer than 2% on the dummy treatment. New Era, Professor Rachel Batterham, it's quite the name, Batterham, from UCL, and one of the UK researchers told the BBC News website, "This is a game changer in the amount of weight loss it causes. I have spent the last 20 years doing obesity research. Up until now, we've not had an effective treatment for obesity apart from bariatric surgery." She said losing weight would reduce the risk of heart disease, diabetes, and of severe COVID-19. Semaglutide is being submitted to drugs regulators, so it cannot be routinely prescribed. And in addition to that, GLP-1 agonists, unfortunately, are very, very expensive. So keep that in mind. However, Professor Batterham expects the drug would be used initially by specialist weight loss clinics rather than being widely available. There were and this is something I'm actually looking into for my HRT clinic right now. There were side effects to the treatment, including nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, and constipation. But unfortunately, the side effect profile is not too, it's not too good. It's like, it's not very it is tolerable, but I mean, when you look at the side effect prevalence, it's like upwards of like 5 to 10% of people have like a bout of intermittently, like randomly one day, they'll just like start vomiting, which is kind of sketch. So obviously, you know, a pros and cons that comes with this one, as with, you know, most drugs, but in this one in particular, the gastric, the GI distress that can come along with it is pretty substantial for some individuals. But you have to keep in mind too, there's different dosages being applied in some of these studies too, where by certain individuals are getting the prevalence of side effects, and there are different analogs of these drugs available. It's not like there's just one semaglutide. And in addition to that, interestingly enough, there's actually an oral version of semaglutide now, which is a daily administration versus the weekly administration of an injection, which presumably if you have a long-acting injection that lasts a week, you can just imagine what the side effect profile is like on the first couple days thereafter when you're introducing a bolus amount into your system that can last for a week. I would imagine the side effect profile would be quite significant relative to a, you know, like ideally you don't want a drug with a fucking massive half-life. You want something that can be in and out of your system so you can modulate the side effect profile more favorably, rather than, you know, constantly bombarding yourself with something, or, you know, blasting into the sky with, you know, crazy high levels and then having it dip down into like suboptimal levels. So anyways, there's a lot of different things to dig into with this class of drugs, but I will continue reading here. So the side effects: nausea, diarrhea, vomiting, and constipation. There are 5-year studies taking place to see if weight loss can be sustained in the long term. Professor Sir Stephen O'Rahilly from the University of Cambridge said the amount of weight loss achieved is greater than that seen with any licensed anti-obesity drug. This is the start of a new era for obesity drug development, with the future direction being to achieve levels of weight loss comparable to semaglutide with having fewer side effects. Dr. Dwan Meller, a dietitian and from Aston Meadows, holy fucking shit, I can't talk. Dr. Dwan Meller, a dietitian and from Aston Medical School, said it is useful to have a potential option to help people lose weight. However, we need to acknowledge that weight loss will still need lifestyle changes, and that any medication or change in lifestyle can bring potential risks and side effects. So it is always wise to speak to a health professional before trying to lose weight. Yeah, so anyway, that is the article everyone's been sending me, but a lot of people don't realize this drug has been, you know, in talks for a while. It's just more so in the diabetes space. So this is a drug, interestingly enough, it was actually discovered because of Gila monster venom, which sounds fucking intense. So let I'll read this article because I think this is the best. It explains it in a better way than I possibly could. So, Gila monster venom. Maybe it's Gila, maybe it's Gila. I don't know. Gut hormones and diabetes, the winding path to drug discovery. So this outlines how GLP-1 agonists came to be and this monster venom shit. Every day, pharmacists dispense prescription medications for type 2 diabetes and counsel patients on the proper use of these medications. But pharmacists are rarely privy to the details of drug development and the people behind these therapies. One such innovator is Dr. Daniel J. Drucker, MD. Drucker's work has led to the development of 3 novel classes of anti-diabetic agents, including DPP-4 inhibitors, GLP-1 agonists, and GLP-2 agonists. In an award acceptance speech at the American Diabetes Association meeting in 2014, Drucker described the fascinating path that led to his drug discovery career, which is among the most productive translational research careers in history. Drucker's research path began in 1984 when Drucker was assigned to work with Joel Habener, researching the hormone glucagon. At the time, thyroid hormone research was thought to be a more promising avenue of research than gut hormone research. Drucker stated, "I worried that I had lost my chance to work on exciting research, but Drucker soon recovered from the disappointment and began work in earnest. The work involved cloning genes that encoded peptide hormones such as glucagon and other peptides with unknown function by, as Drucker stated, dumping these peptides on as many cell cultures as possible. The result of this investigation was the discovery that 2 fragments of GLP-1, the 7-37 and 7-36 fragments, were potent regulators of insulin gene expression and insulin secretion. Sensing that these hormone fragments might be a fertile lead for drug development, Habener issued a patent for these 2 peptide fragments, and Drucker published what would become a seminal paper in the Proceeds of the National Academy of Science entitled Glucagon-like Peptide 1 Stimulates Insulin Gene Expression and Increases Cyclic AMP Levels in a Rat Islet Cell Line. If you don't know what cyclic AMP is, check out cyclic AMP Camp PM on Gorilla Mind site. It is the main vector through which we drive our stimulant-free fat loss formula. So if you're interested in that, you can check that out. These achievements were only the beginning of Drucker's success with gut hormones. The GLP-1 agonists and DPP-4 inhibitors became an area of interest for researchers. Research led to the discovery that the venom of Heloderma suspectum, better known as the Gila monster, shared 53% of the amino acid sequence of GLP-1. Drucker and Chen cloned the DNA of Exendin-4 from the salivary gland of the lizard. Having identified the genetic sequence of the GLP-1 receptor, scientists removed GLP-1 from mice, forming GLP-1 knockout mice, and learned that even when fasting, the mice had hyperglycemia, suggesting that GLP-1 agonists have a role in homeostatic glucose regulation beyond the effect of modulating the effects of insulin. You can actually see here on YouTube, Gila monster venom extraction. You can see this. This is what the thing looks like. It's like this big lizard thing, and they pick it up and they make it bite onto this thing, and then they extract the venom from it. It's kind of interesting to see. So, as you can see, it bite onto the thing there. And then from there, if you zoom in, you can actually see them basically collecting venom from the Gila monster, all but slowly. So anyways, kind of an interesting thing. They just fucking snag it off the table and then get it to bite this thing. It's like watching National Geographic shit. All right, so that is the thing that we're referring to. So anyways, getting back to, where was I? Further research revealed that GLP-1 plays a role in preserving the function of beta cells. Lee and others tested the GLP-1 agonist Exendin-4 in mice with beta cells that had been destroyed by the drug streptozotocin. And by the way, it's pronounced Gila monster. I don't know why the fuck I thought it was Gila or Gila. It is, in fact, Gila. So, just in case you didn't know already, that's how you fucking say it. So anyways, in the mice receiving Exendin-4, the negative effects of streptozotocin were less profound. A mechanism for the prevention of beta cell destruction was later elucidated. The protective effect of GLP-1 agonists seems to be mediated through a reduction in endoplasmic reticular stress. Together, these discoveries suggest that GLP-1 agonists have an effect beyond stimulating insulin secretion, may have a role in inhibiting apoptosis of beta cells and performs a complex role in regulating glucose homeostasis. In fact, GLP-1 agonists have broad effects through multiple organ systems and tissues, including cardiomyocytes, neurons, and systems that modulate body weight and energy expenditure. The effect of GLP-1 agonists on the brain was surprising given the high molecular weight of the GLP-1 active compounds. Although the brain is very important in regulating glucose homeostasis, GLP-1 agonists do not have to penetrate the blood-brain barrier to exert effects on the brain. Lamont and others showed that the GLP-1 agonists can indirectly affect brain signaling despite the high molecular weight of these agents. So I'm going to skip over the DPP-4 inhibitors. Effects on the GI. So in mice implanted with glucagon secreting tumors, mice developed enlargements of the small bowel, doubling and sometimes almost tripling in mass. Similar results were identified in humans through a literature search that yielded a 1971 case report on a 44-year-old woman who had an enlarged gastrointestinal tract as a result of a tumor secreting glucagon and other peptides. In a minor hiccup, the GLP-2 agonist was found to be ineffective in rats. However, this turned out to be a result of rat DPP-4 enzymes degrading GLP-2 rapidly. When the GLP-2 was altered to resist destruction by rat DPP-4 enzymes, small bowel growth was observed in rats as well. Eventually, the development of GLP-2 led to a treatment of short bowel syndrome. In 2012, teduglutide was approved by the FDA under the brand name Gattex for the treatment of short bowel syndrome. With this treatment, according to Drucker, between 1 in 6 and 1 in 8 patients can completely come off of total parenteral nutrition. They no longer need nutritional support. Cardiovascular concerns. The cardiovascular effects of GLP-1 agonists have recently become a popular concern. It is known that GLP-1 can affect the heart indirectly. However, in mice that had experienced a myocardial infarction, use of the GLP-1 agonist liraglutide induced improved survival and reduced the size of infarcts. After a myocardial infarction, a total of 77% versus 20% of mice survived 28 days, favoring the groups receiving liraglutide. Other studies in mice also suggest a cardiomyocyte independent effect of GLP-1 agonists. Summary: Drucker's illustrious and holy shit, this is a word I have no idea what that is. Drucker's illustrious and feasend. What the choice of word, dude? Like, just say it was a good career. Like, fuck's sakes. Feasend career. There's no way I'm saying that right. Has led to the development of three classes of incretin active agents for the treatment of diabetes and short bowel syndrome. It's kind of ironic how I'm saying to put a simpler word here when I often say the most complicated fucking shit possible in my videos. But anyways, the American Diabetes Association celebrates the accomplishments of scientific innovators like Drucker and continues to fund the research of scientists who innovate in the field of diabetes research. So this was in 2014. This is the story of Gila monster venom and the creation of GLP-1 agonists. So since then, there's been, a lot of kind of more research in the subject and more widespread attention in the diabetes community and whatnot. And the thing that's interesting about this class of agents is they will literally stack them up head to head against other companies' products in clinical trials to like shit on each other. So you can actually see with pretty blatant, like transparency, which drugs are the best of this class of agents and which ones are not as good or are going to be more problematic in the side effect and deleterious outcome context on cardiovascular outcomes and whatnot. And this is something I am going to do a separate video on probably in a few days. So this is a 20 plus minute video already describing what these are. And the semaglutide, introducing it, it is one of the most promising of this novel class of agents of GLP-1 agonists. And basically the main mechanism by which it's working is the appetite suppression. Like, this is why there's such massive amounts of weight loss, is people are way more easily able to adhere to a calorie deficit, and people's willpower, it's less necessary to have good willpower because they simply are not hungry. So obviously, expectedly, if you're not hungry, it's a lot easier to drop 33 pounds. So you can obviously see where the crossover comes in and why the obesity research is so excited about this thing. So I'm going to be getting into all of the different compounds in the next video and kind of compare them head to head, give my kind of stance on which ones seem to have the best efficacy, side effect profile, etc. And then we can, get a bit more elaborate and in-depth into each of the agents specifically, rather than just a general sweeping overview of what it is in this how it came to be from the Gila monster. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Like, subscribe, especially if you want to see the updates on the GLP-1 agonists and what you can expect from them and all the clinical data and the trials done on them in humans and whatnot. So check that out when it's coming up soon. Stay notified with the bell thing or whatever the fuck, so you get notified when I post. Follow me on Instagram, @replace_more_dates, Facebook, Snapchat, BitChute, Twitter, TikTok, Apple Podcasts. If you want to support the channel, you can check out anything I'm associated with in the video description below. My TRT clinic, it's all telemedicine from the comfort of your own home. Gorilla Mind, nootropic formulas, Gorilla Mode, pre-workout formulas, I design myself from scratch, and anything else I'm associated with. It's all in the video description below. Thank you guys for watching. Talk to you soon.